and we thank our three candidates for addressing the individual questions, Professor Ramos, Professor Tapia, and Dr. Campo. We now proceed to our questions for all of our three candidates to be given by Dr. Bercania.
So these questions can be answered by all the candidates. Here's the first one. What are your perspectives regarding the city of Makati to be absorbed by the city government of Taguig? What are the implications of this decision to the governance of the University of Makati? In particular, what mechanisms, strategies, and approaches may be offered to downplay the animosities of people regarding the impact of this decision?
Professor Ramos.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to assure the entire UMak community that despite the court ruling regarding the dispute between Makati and Taguig, the University of Makati sits in a lot owned by the city government of Makati. Ibig sabihin po niyan, ang titulo ng lupa na ito ay nakapangalan sa city government of Makati. So, kahit na po sabihin natin maging final and executory at wala na talagang magagawa sa court of law, may mga instances naman po talaga ng isang lugar na pagmamay-ari ng isang gobyerno o ng isang munisipalidad o isang syudad ay nakapaloob sa ibang bayan. Just like Makati South Cemetery, Manila South Cemetery, which is actually owned by the city of Manila, but it is in the city of Makati. So, as far as the ownership of the University of Makati, that is not a question. Now, the other side of the story, of course, is what will we do and what is the city doing? As a stakeholder and as a resident of the city, of course, hindi naman natin papabayaan na maging ganun na lamang without actually making an appeal or using other legal means to be able to ensure that the best decision will come out, not only for the residents of the city, but for all affected residents as well. So yun naman po ang mapapangako ng City Government of Makati, speaking for, as of course, as an employee of the city government and also as a department head of the city, to the different stakeholders that we have here at the University of Makati. Hindi po tayo papabayaan ng City of Makati.
Thank you, Professor Ramos. Professor Tapia.
Okay, it's important for us to leave the legal details out of it. No, it's beyond our competence. I think the lawyers of both cities are handling it. And just to answer the question, as a student of public administration, again in the social sciences, my sense is that we have to be guided by the principle of the right to self-determination. Whether we belong to Makati or Taguig depends on the decision of the Supreme Court. We ask the people. We ask the people because after all, it is the people who will be deciding where they would really want to chart their own destiny. So beyond, not to promote some form of animosity between the two cities, kasi magkakapit-bahay naman tayo, but the real power has to be with the people. You ask them, you want to be in Makati or do you want to be in Taguig? It's a superfluous question, obviously, but we have to ask it nonetheless. So, and I think that's one thing that we should really be actively working for. And if we just make a simple question and throw it to the members of the audience, I think the answer would be quite obvious. Because we've been, as I said earlier in my presentation, we've been given this dramatic, enormous privilege of being Makatians. And it's not something that you trade for some other proposition. I think right of self-determination should be given back to the people because that is where it truly belongs.
Thank you, Professor Tapia. It's now your turn to answer, Dr. Campo.
Okay. It's about constitutionality. When you say in our Constitution, there is a due process of law that no one shall be deprived his/her property without due process of law. when time comes, it was elevated to the Metropolitan Trial Court or the Regional Trial Court. There is a due process, and being the members or a law degree, I will not accept the consequence that Taguig will claim the portion of the Makati. I will appeal it to the Court of Appeals. There are a lot of provision under the civil law. There are evidence that this property belongs to Makati because it is titled property. I will not allow it. I will fight until the Supreme Court came from the decision that whoever owns this property, we will follow the decision of the Supreme Court. But in my sense of legality, the problem is they did not own the property. The evidence is the ownership. It's a simple legal dispute, ownership. And who are the registered owner of this property, which is Makati or Taguig? Ownership is the evidence of that particular dispute.
Thank you, Dr. Campo, and thank you to all of our candidates.